All right, so I figured it out. You know the person whose name is a Brazilian street racer lady who has a connection to Dom's past.
Uh-huh.
That character, whoever that is, she looks like one of those people in that race. What's
Yeah.
his baby mama's name?
It's oh my god. I know
There's a 100% chance that's like her sister.
Oh, sure.
That's like that's absolutely what it's gonna be.
Yeah. Oh, what is her name? Elena.
Yeah,
It's Elena.
that's definitely gonna be her sister, and then she'll join the family and be like, "I'm Lil B's aunt" or whatever.
Sure, I'm there for that. Okay, so my story, I had a Fast 10 story for you. I saw a thumbnail for like another YouTube thing or whatever from the Fast channel. It says get tickets now. I'm like, oh my god, tickets are on sale today, like 4 months in advance.
Tickets went on sale like last night, I think. Actually,
Yeah, so I was like, oh my god, I gotta get my tickets. And then it is when it dawned on me what day this movie is coming out on.
May 19th. Let me take a gander.
You-
Friday.
May 19th, technically May 18th, Thursday night, you could go see the movie.
Yeah.
On May 18th is when we get in the car to drive up to South Carolina for Abby's cousin's wedding, and we will be out of town all weekend for this wedding. I'm not going to be able to see this movie opening weekend.
It's okay.
I am upset.
Yeah.
No, you're going to see it before me.
Well, I would probably see it before you anyway because I'm going to try to sneak into a showing at my job. So there's that.
Oh, fancy.
There's a couple movies coming up that I'm going to try to sneak into showings for through work.
Like
I want to see
out in LA?
No. Like usually we get like
A screener?
Yeah, usually we get screeners set up around town, so we'll get like private viewing parties at various theaters around the city, and we can usually go to those. I'm gonna try to go see an advanced screening of Mario, so I probably will see that. I want to see Fast, and then I want to see John Wick 4.
John Wick
Which also is out this year. It's out in a month. Also, maybe Creed 3.
Yeah, so I've told Abby there are a few
Cinema
movies.
is back.
There are some movies that, like, Abby, I'm seeing this movie when it comes out. The kid, will deal with it. So, babysitter for John Wick. I will not miss Mission Impossible opening day.
Yeah.
Will not miss it. So, there's that, and Mario I'd like to see. And then
Mario, you should take the kid to see Mario.
I've joked about it, but I don't.
And if she starts crying, you can say, Abby, get out of here. This is a film for me. This is a film for gamers. Get out of here.
Only real gamers allowed. Oh my goodness gracious. I sent you the show doc. You're in there. Oh, that's the one thing I didn't change. The date of this movie.
What was I going to say to you? Oh, yeah. Did you buy the collector's edition of Zelda?
Yes.
It's so bad. I say this. I feel like I can say this because the last collector's edition I purchased was Breath of the Wild. So I'm prone to buy Zelda collector's editions.
No, I understand.
I think this one is bad.
This one is not what I would have hoped for.
It just feels so.
I want a statue. I'm not a
lackluster.
pins person. It's interesting they're not revealing all of the pins. I think it probably hints to some of the story in some way.
I mentioned that the other day too. They're being like so quiet and under wraps about this game that it's like preventing my excitement to a degree.
I talked with Phil about that. We were like, what's the hook here?
Yeah, because the other game, it was like, oh, Link wakes up. He's been asleep. Ganon won. Hyrule's dawn. Blah, 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 blah. And it's like, okay, that's a cool idea. This game, it's like, what's the story? And they're like, we can't tell you. It'll spoil it. And I'm like, what?
This trailer did give more of the vibe. And it's certainly,
looks dark.
Yeah, man, it's a Majora vein for sure. Of
like
go out and
Twilight.
kill all of them, the kingdom and her allies. Like, it looks pretty messed up. I think there's some liquid ocelot arm stuff going on. I think Link loses his arm and gets like a robot hand.
I don't know if he loses it, but it looks like
it looks
he's
burned.
got powers.
It looks
He's got
burned
powers
in
of
one
some sort
shot.
through it. Well, he's
But,
using the arm in multiple times in gameplay, and we've seen that for a while. Like
yeah,
when
I think that's the robot arm, or that's like Calamity Ganon's arm or something.
yeah, I think it's just how he's got.
There's some Metal Gear Solid stuff going on here. The darkness is going to corrupt him from the inside. It is, there's clearly a time mechanic going on. I just don't. The beginning of this game, I imagine, is them like going under the castle. Feels probably pretty a strong narrative start. I'm just nervous about the sky stuff, vehicle stuff. Like we need more, and it's not out of a place of greed of I just want to see more Zelda. It's like we need to know.
Yeah, that's why I said I'm like not excited for this game. Like the things they are showing, it's like there's so little here that I'm like I don't even like know what. Like it's Zelda. I'm excited because of the name of the game, and that's about it.
Some stuff is cool.
When he did a front flip and flipped a bomb at somebody, I was like, now that looks cool.
I like the big blocky enemy that kind of came in and punched.
I like that the Master Sword's all destroyed looking.
Yeah,
that's
like there's
cool.
cool little things, but the cohesiveness.
I like that he's got a mane of hair, which looks very Ganon-like.
I'm telling you, I'm right here, right now.
I feel like
There's
this has
some
been the
Metal
theory
Gear
for a while.
Solid arm stuff going on.
I feel like this has been a theory for a while, though, because as soon as people saw the long hair in one of the trailers from a year or two ago, people were like, "Is this like Ganon? Is this even Link?" Like people have been wondering.
That it was like a prequel.
Yeah, because look, I can even show you.
No. I'm saying that is Link, but I'm saying there's some arm swapping going on.
Well, look, this is what I'm trying to show you. Like, people have had these theories for a bit now. Like, this Link is not this Link. These ain't the same. And with this game having, like, time travel stuff going on,
you don't think those... interesting. So that...
I mean, they kind of are. I guess he's got his hair pulled up in a ponytail. But they look drastically different, you know?
That one, the older looking one, yes. Tattoos and stuff.
Yeah,
the
that looks more like...
The modern, that's definitely...
But there's like a time travel aspect to this game that we can tell, or a time reversal, or a pause time.
Oh,
so
yeah,
it's
like you can reverse time and push things back.
Yeah,
like, there's
so it's
time,
like...
Which is fitting for Zelda.
One of these links is from like a different time period, or like there's going to be weird stuff going on in the game like that. I wouldn't be surprised if the hook of the game is like Link to the Past, where it's got the Dark World and you can like switch between different eras of Hyrule on a dime, and maybe that's how they make it completely different.
That
feels
pretty
too.
Awesome.
That feels too intense for Switch hardware, though, to do that.
Well, so I was thinking was Skyward Sword, where you remember the desert and the little keystones, and they would like reverse time in the space. But that game has you going back and forth in time to like old Calamity times and then new. So like time obviously is a big thing in Zelda. Time travel would be dope. They've played this game so close to the chest. And it's
like,
3 months away.
What's
3 months
weird
away.
What's weird is Zelda is not a series where people... I mean, I don't want to undersell it. But Zelda is not a franchise where people, like, talk about the story endlessly.
I would disagree with that.
To some degree, yes.
That was more like the pitch of Skyward Sword was like, this is the beginning of everything. And people were losing their minds.
Like that game.
But people were losing their minds. The timeline.
I would disagree with that. The pitch of Skyward Sword was, look, 1-to-1 sword motion. Woohoo!
Yes, but the story stuff was also a huge factor, and it was the 25th anniversary.
I'm not trying to undersell the story of it, but I guess I'm not... Zelda is not Metal Gear, is what I'm saying. Like, it is not, there's not going to be a Zelda game where there's 90 minutes of cutscenes without stopping of, like, intense the voice acting and dialogue. Like, this is still stories where it's told all via text for the most part. I know they've incorporated voice acting more lately, but you get what I'm saying. Like, it's not a traditional 2023 story-centric video game.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean there's not story, but it means it's not like ever been the thing, I feel like, about these games.
I mean, the lore. I think lore is a huge factor in Zelda, but then the front-facing narrative, sure. It's
lore in the characters, like Zelda, Ganondorf, and Link, and like how those three interact and what the different conflicts are between them in each game. Like, that's kind of what I'm thinking about. So I'm excited for this game. I mean, it'll be good, but it is. I
just want more. I'm hungry.
Yeah, I just wish they could say something else about it. Like, it is very.
Do you think the blowout direct is April? End of March, early April?
Here's the thing. I don't know if they have one. Like, history would say they do, but this game's got to sell like 20 million copies in 8 weeks, whether they do that or not. So if they've been that quiet up until this point, what's to keep them from just being even more quiet? It's like already the most anticipated game of the year other than Hogwarts, probably. So
I'm not really going to be. I'm probably not going to be paying too much attention from here on out. Like, I don't know if I would watch a big gameplay expose. I
would, but just because of work mainly.
Yeah. I'm kind of like, I'll get to it when I get to it kind of mentality when it shows up. So,
yeah, I'm not going to like drop everything and start it. We'll see.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Chapter Select, a seasonal podcast where we bounce back and forth between a series exploring its evolution, design, and legacy. For this bonus episode for Season 4, we're covering the Fast and the Furious. Sorta. My name is Max Roberts, and I'm joined, as always, by Logan Moore. Hi, Logan.
We're back to the family, sort of.
We're back to the roots of the family, an origin story that wasn't planned to be an origin story at all.
This movie is so bizarre.
It's
so weird that we're even doing this, to be honest.
Members, we are talking about one of Justin Lin's first movies. I think it's his second film, Better Luck Tomorrow. A small indie film about some Asian American high schoolers. And one of those high schoolers just happens to be one Han, who is played by, Sung Kang, and goes on to be in Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift, and they have since confirmed that is the same Han. Between the two, kind of sort of retroactively connecting Better Luck Tomorrow to the Fast universe. So we thought it'd be a fun bonus episode to watch and talk about for you guys. We've both never seen this movie before this, so it's been fun for me to actually have a movie I haven't seen before for this season.
Yeah. I mean, I obviously have not seen any of these, so this is yet another film in the Fast franchise, sort of. Yeah, again, it's very strange that we're doing this one, and I have a lot of thoughts, and I feel like let's do the rundown, and then we'll get into kind of the nitty gritty about this one, because I feel like it's hard to do much else without diving straight into it. Okay, so Better Luck Tomorrow. It originally released on April 11th, 2003. It premiered at Sundance a full year earlier in January 2002. The movie was directed by Justin Lin, as you said. Produced by Justin Lin, Julie Asato, and Ernesto Foronda, and MC Hammer was another producer on the film. I believe he helped finance it.
He saved the movie from not happening,
which is very interesting. The writers on the movie were once again Justin Lin, Fabian Marquez, and Ernesto Foronda. The actors in the film include Perry Shen, Jason Tobin, Sung Kang, who is Han, as you mentioned, Roger Fan, John Cho, and Karen Anna Chung. The composer was Michael Gonzalez and Tobin Mori. There was no stunt coordinator on this one because there's not really stunts in this one. The film was shot for a budget of $250,000, and it made $3.8 million at the box office. Rotten Tomatoes wise, this movie actually has very positive reviews for the most part. It's got an 81 overall aggregate score, and it's got a 79% from audiences. So it's pretty well received, and I guess I'm curious like what people's exposure to this movie is, because obviously for us it's like the Han origin story movie, and I think that's the first thing I want to talk about with this is let's directly link this to Fast and Furious. As you were watching this movie, were you thinking about this the whole time? Like, oh, there's Han, and soon he'll go to Japan. Soon he'll meet Dominic Toretto, and then one day he'll go to Japan. And like, because that's what I was thinking the whole time I was watching the movie, and especially the scenes that Han's in. I'm like, okay, but how does this tie in to the one Dominic Toretto?
I guess it's all adjacent, right? They're in California, so it's not a stretch. I think they're even in like the LA area, so it's not a stretch that Han would meet Dom. But after the initial scene, it wasn't so much, oh, I wonder how this ties into the Fast and Furious lore. It was just more, I was more curious how much of this Han from Better Luck Tomorrow, before Tokyo Drift, is the same type of Han characteristic-wise that shows up in the Fast and Furious movies. And so that's what I was watching, just mannerisms, dialogue, that sort of stuff. Like what carries over. And I was kind of surprised
like what carries over. I feel like what carries over is his name, and that's about it. Like for the most part, Han does not have a lot of characterization in this film. I feel like there's a couple. He's very quiet. He's the reserved member of the group, and he's Virgil, who's one of the other characters, kind of the wild card's cousin. I feel like the most characterization we see in this movie is when one of the he like beats the crap out of Virgil at one point, I believe, right? And it talks about how Virgil is, or Han was just looking for a reason to beat Virgil up, essentially. But like, there's not a lot of moments in the movie that center around Han solely, which makes it even more bizarre that he ends up being the character that is plucked from this movie and placed in the others. I guess more so than anything, it's more just bizarre that this is like pseudo canon to the Fast universe. And it is and it isn't. Like it's clearly like retroactive, and
yeah, it was never designed this way, but the character of Han is generally pretty quiet in the movies. He doesn't usually talk a lot. I think that carries over. He has the sense that he's the smartest in the room, or one of the smartest. Like he's smarter than the other guys, and he doesn't have to say much because, he knows what to do or what the situation demands and whatnot. So I think that persona kind of carries over here, especially since he's, he takes charge over Virgil, some form of responsibility for him and a connection there. Obviously cousins, so there's some blood family things there. Not the Fast family per se, but Han is definitely the coolest of the group. He drives the Mustang, all that stuff. So I feel like those types of things are why he was plucked out of this, because he is the coolest.
When Han was first introduced in this movie, did you get the sense that he was like much older than Ben and Virgil? Because that was the sense that I got. And then I realized like, oh, they're all in high school together. Like I got the sense that Virgil and Ben were like in high school and he was more like in his 20s or something like that. And he just hung out with them.
I suppose a little bit, but it was more he's the cool high schooler, smoking cigarettes, cheating on the tests, driving the Mustang. And I think with that comes a persona of maturity, because Virgil is, as you pointed out, he's kind of the counter to that, the foil to Han. He's loud, obnoxious, doesn't know how to do anything, flies by the seat of his pants. And so I think that stark contrast makes Han appear older, more mature, and it comes off that way.
Are they all seniors in this movie as well? I can't remember, because I know Derek is, and I think it's implied that Han is as well, or maybe they say that, but I don't know if I think Virgil and Ben are like maybe juniors or something like that. I don't know if they're all seniors.
Yeah, they're a little lower, because Derek is a senior and he's valedictorian and president of all those clubs and all that stuff.
Because I feel like there's a scene where they're talking to Derek and he's talking about how he's like going to graduate soon and stuff like that.
Yeah, they're a little bit younger, I believe, is how it comes off. It's interesting stuff. And, I mean, we're talking about how this kind of ties in, and I want to. So this movie goes places I wasn't expecting. I didn't look like.
What did you expect coming into this?
I certainly didn't expect a prostitute or murder.
Yeah, I
didn't expect like hardcore cocaine usage. I just expected like teen angst, but not teen angst. So that was a bit kind of an off-put there. But I think a lot of the aftermath of this movie, which involves them horrifically killing another student, I think that explains actually a lot of Han's behavior in Tokyo Drift. Besides Giselle dying, who knows if she's dead or not, off the back of a plane. What is Han doing when he's in Tokyo? He's working with the Yakuza, selling drugs, making drops. He's hanging out with a bunch of women, probably prostitute. Like, he's a part of that scene over there. And I feel like that naturally stems from the consequences of this movie. Selling drugs, cheating, hiring prostitute. Like, that makes sense. Now, him becoming a super spy doesn't make sense. But I do think the Tokyo Drift stuff is a bit more of a logical tie. Again, I know this wasn't designed this way.
I was going to say, I don't see it as much as you do, I don't think.
I'm not saying that it was built this way, but I do think that there's some cohesion.
It's not a leap for his character to get to where he's at in Tokyo Drift compared to where he's at in this movie. But I don't think...
And also, Han wasn't trying to kill... Oh, I'm blanking on the kid's name. Let's see.
It's John Cho's character.
Yes, John Cho's character. The next day... Where's
Steve?
Steve, thank you. Like, Han wasn't out there to kill Steve, and he stands off to the side for... the whole, he doesn't want to be a part of the actual killing. And I could see that messing someone up and driving them to basically act the way he's kind of acting in Tokyo Drift, just kind of nonchalant and stuff. And I can see it. It's not hard. It's more the super spy stuff that makes zero sense.
Outside of Han, though, let's talk about the larger movie. And I guess my problem with this movie, and I messaged you about this, and this is the main reason why I think I couldn't get engrossed in this film, is because of Ben. Like, I think he is so bland as a central character, and I don't understand. I don't feel like he does much in this movie other than kind of react to what's happening around him. Like, the characters that are fleshed out and have more like actual traits, and I mean, he has character traits. Obviously, he's, working at a fast food restaurant. He's trying to be on the basketball team. He's trying to prepare for college. He's trying to do all these things. He's teaching himself different words. And so he has like characteristics and things like that, but he
has an obsessive traits. Yeah.
Within the context of the larger group, I feel like he's just kind of there, and he doesn't, like, especially as the movie begins to evolve and they get more involved in these like schemes that they're pulling off, he's just kind of like, okay, yeah, sure, I'll do it, whatever. Like, he's not really ever pushing to do this stuff, and he even tries to get out. He just kind of goes with the flow of whatever Han and Virgil and Derek are pushing, and he's just like, yeah, whatever. And so I think that leads up to like the murder scene at the end. Like, it just kind of comes out of absolutely nowhere and doesn't really...
I don't think it's out of nowhere.
It's, I don't know.
He is definitely a pushover most of the movie. He can't ask the girl out. He can't snitch on her cheating boyfriend. He just goes along for the ride.
He's a bench warmer on the team.
All this stuff. He's a pushover, despite all of his pursuits and perfectionism and things like that. And over the course of the movie, he tries to stand up for himself over time and become his idea of a man, an adult. And so he, he tries to get out of the group, stops doing cocaine. Apparently cold turkey. Like, major, super impressive that he just quits cocaine like that. He has that. And he tries to just focus on his studies again and kind of stand up and, not succumb to the will and manipulation of Derek. And then that all fails when they go to Vegas. And then this prostitute is thrust upon him. And then that's robbed from him. And I think earlier in the movie is when they beat up a guy. I forget, Virgil, like they felt so alive. Maybe it was when they pulled a gun at the party. Pulled a gun and beat a guy up at the party. He tries to stand up and take action for himself, and then it gets pushed back down in his face, and he can't seem to thrive. And it's not until he snaps kind of at the end and just straight up beats Steve within an inch of his life.
Essentially kills him. Yeah.
He's
not I know that he's not actually dead when he does. But he basically
kills him.
The one responsible for killing him. Yes.
He reaches this breaking point, and the comparison I'm about to make, you're going to roll your eyes, but it is this idea of someone going good and breaking bad.
Walter White
kind of thing. Now, completely different, and there's Breaking Bad is infinitely better than this, but I do think the build up for Ben is there. It's kind of like what you said yesterday. He has the personality of a potato.
Yeah. I guess my problem with that is that if you did want to build him up as slowly becoming this bad figure or adapting to be more like the bad influences around him, they could have done more after the murder scene to kind of cement that, because after that happens, he's like shocked. I mean, which he would be, I suppose, but he never really, like, there's even scenes where he's like, I need to go to the police and I need to report this. And like, he feels guilty and he's like, I need to do the right thing. So like his best impulses, which he doesn't do, obviously, and the movie kind of ends on an ambiguous note, but it's sort of implied that he's not really like fully broke bad or anything like that.
Right.
And even at the end when he's in the car with the girl he likes and she's finally
Stephanie.
like accepted to be with him. Yeah. Like you can tell he's like off put, like, I can't do this. Like I killed this girl's boyfriend. And I got the sense at the end of the movie that he was, I mean, I know the final narrative, or the final thing he says is like, the narrator is like, I don't know what happens next, blah, 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 blah. But like for me, based on all the scenes after the murder, it's like, well, he's gonna like break down and he'll have to tell the police or turn himself in or something like I just couldn't see a situation where he just like goes on living his life and acts like everything's fine. And that's, to me, I guess is the difference between, like you're saying, like Walter White, like embrace, no, this is who I am. And I know, yeah. I'm just talking about that. I'm just talking about the broad idea of him becoming a good character and then becoming bad. I don't think he fully is like bad by the end. He just kind of flies off the handle in one moment, and then he reverts back to being sort of this good-natured version of himself to some sort of degree.
I feel like there's no world where that Steve's body isn't found. They dug like a 2-foot grave for him in some guy's backyard.
In somebody's backyard. Yeah.
It's very shallow grave for Steve.
Just go mow the lawn and
bump.
His body will pop right up. Yeah.
That was interesting. It's Ben's not like, I don't feel super attached to him, but he's an interesting vehicle for the audience to look at these other characters. Primarily, I think Derek, Virgil, and to a lesser degree, Steve. Like, to me, he's like the window to these other characters in the way that they behave, which is interesting.
Well, and like Stephanie too, to some degree.
Stephanie as well.
Because you get like insight into her family and find out like she's adopted and things like that. And those things are all conveyed by praxis of like Ben and his relationship with her and things like that. So I think that there's my other problem with this movie is it doesn't feel cohesive at times. There are just things that happen. I mean, the last about 45 minutes, I'd say, gets a little bit more narrowed into this idea of, oh, we're this group of guys at this high school and we pull off these schemes and people come to us. And then the movie kind of starts to develop from there. But like the first half of the movie with, like I think of like the whole basketball stuff where it's like, oh, I'm going to write this report in the school paper about you being a bench warmer and stuff like that. It's like, I don't really like.
I see that as Derek Derek is a manipulator the entire film.
Yeah,
I think that is him flexing his power within the school as valedictorian, class president, and all this other stuff. He wants to use Ben and Virgil and to a degree Han. I think he probably even knows about the little scams that they're pulling off, you know, like returning all that merchandise at the store, you know, that early little heist of, which is so funny. It reminds me of the tuna shop of just like so small stakes.
Yeah.
And then in this movie, they go on to like sell cocaine and murder someone. So it's in, you know, that's one whole thing. But Derek is like a master manipulator. And by the end of the movie, Ben actually is the one in control over Derek's fate to a degree, which is also an interesting shift in power because Ben lets it go and Derek can't, like, Derek doesn't have control anymore because there are other people that can reveal the truth. It's interesting to see Derek kind of break there at the end.
What did you think? What did you think about Virgil throughout this movie? Because I thought things were going to go far different than they did. Like, I guess it makes sense that he would just end up shooting himself like this because you know he's kind of tortured and messed up, and you see that in a bunch of different scenes. But I thought he was actually going to fly. Like, if you would have told me, like, oh, somebody's about to die in the next scene, I would have been like, oh, well, Virgil's the one who kills them. Like, that would have been my guess.
Yeah.
And instead, they go with Ben being the one who essentially kills Steve.
So Virgil, I think, is the best character and performance in this whole movie. Virgil has a few great scenes and kind of just this theme throughout the movie of he's always looked down upon within the group, always kind of told he can't do something right. He's, you know, go do this, get that, do this. Come on, you're so slow. Can you do this right? You know, he's kind of always pushed down. And even when he is given opportunities to advance his position within the group or take control of his situation, he can't do the thing quite right. Like when he takes over the cheating group, he runs it too fast and loose and eventually, you know, gets caught and beat up too, just for talking about it so much and bragging. The prostitute, he's the third person to go, and he can't even have sex with the prostitute because he tries to act all big and macho and ruins that transaction and is embarrassed because he's still a virgin. Like he can't even do that kind of right. And then he has a monologue in the car after they beat that guy up. And I think that is
where he like breaks down and starts crying. And
he's so amped up on the adrenaline and the excitement of it. And then he just has a total, absolute meltdown. I thought that performance. And
everybody else is
great.
Quiet because they think they're about to get shot up by the Hispanics that are driving next to them.
Because Virgil also isn't aware of his surroundings. It's such a great performance and scene for him there. And then, I mean, I wrote it down like this. Virgil can't even kill himself correctly.
Yeah.
Which I think is the ultimate just encapsulation of his character, where he is always doing things wrong and can't do anything right and is kind of a failure within the group and as a person. And he's such a tragic character. He really elevates this movie, I think, quite a bit from,
well, especially because like I said, Ben feels like he's got the depth of a potato and he's not that enticing. So like you need the other characters around him to kind of make this film a bit more engaging. And Virgil definitely does that to a great degree. And because Han is more reserved too in this movie. And so you can't really, there aren't a lot of character moments with him. And Ben is kind of flat as well, and you have to get more into his psyche to understand what he's thinking. But Virgil's kind of the one that puts it all out there to some degree, and
Yeah,
he's easier to understand, I suppose. But
he is. I really was surprised, quite frankly. I couldn't. He was punching up for sure in this movie, I think.
what did you think about this movie as far as like kind of tying it back to the Fast movies? Did you see any connective tissue here between this movie and what Justin Lin went on to do in the Fast films? Like, how did you think
His
about this
style.
from from the perspective of his style and the cinematography and things like that?
I think most of it's different. There's a lot of close-ups, and it can be quiet. The movie can be quiet and have some time to breathe, and not have some hip-hop soundtrack beneath it. So I think for the most part, you can see it's trying to be artsy and be within a budget. But I think they go really hard in the scope of this indie movie when they need to. I think the shot in the garage where it's spinning around while they're suffocating Steve, like, I think that's a great shot and moment that conveys the kind of insanity of what they're doing. Like, that's how far gone this group is. I think, so he does what he needs to do, and I can see it. There are some like sped up montages and stuff, the way they clip it and zoom in, and students are walking by fast and things like that. I think those remind me of early Fast and Furious, those silly montages and things like that. So I can see why he was chosen to do Tokyo Drift. He clearly understands the Asian American experience, obviously, of course, and can convey speed and intensity. So what is Tokyo Drift? It's about a high schooler who gets sent across the world because he's in trouble. So it makes sense within his repertoire at this point. So what about you? Did you see that Justin Lin early kind of signature here?
There's a lot of really unique shots and things that he does with the camera in this movie that are a lot of cuts, and like he really tries to style up this movie to great effect, like even in scenes when he doesn't have to. And I think that plays well with the story of the movie. Like, I think of some of the cuts and things that happen, like you mentioned the garage scene, but I think of the scene afterwards where they bury Steve and they go back to the party, and there's like a lot of flash cuts in between all the characters, and they keep thinking about what they just did, and it's cutting back between them, like burying him and stuff like that. And a lot of that is pretty well spliced together, I think, and has a greater impact on like what they've done. I also think there's one scene where Steve and Ben are at like the batting cages, and I think there's like a couple shots of like the camera like zooming in towards him hitting, like the camera is the ball or whatever. And
I think they did that at a bowling alley, I think, too.
Yeah, like there's a couple really unique things that he's doing with the camera in this movie, and how it is capturing some of these scenes. And it's pretty impressive for his first outing. Like, I think also we mentioned the way that the car scene is spliced together, where Virgil's giving his monologue and it keeps cutting back over to the other, the Hispanic dudes in the car next to him and things like that. Like there's a lot of stuff that could have been, there's a lot of scenes in this movie that could have been shot in a more basic way and would have gotten the point across, but he tries to style up most scenes in this movie more so than I think normal. The Vegas scene when they're running around the strip too, the old Vegas strip, I think of as well. Like there's just a lot of unique shots, and you can tell that he's trying to add some creative flair to this movie to stand out a bit more. And it's not ever distracting though either, is the good thing, because I think a lot of times, especially with a smaller scope movie like this, like some of the things that I think he does in his Fast movies, again, they're very stylistic, but they fit more within the context of the Fast movies because they're action films. So it's almost hard to have a lot of style, I feel like, in these sorts of movies that are pretty small and character focused. And to that degree, yeah, I think he does a lot of really great work here as a director.
Interesting note. He, again, indie movie budget. He's the editor of the movie. So those cuts and all that stuff, that's all him too. So his style's really coming through. He wasn't the cinematographer. That was Patrice Lucen Cochette, I think. So editor and director. And this was his second movie. So not too far. It's still super early in his time. And then everything else after that is Fast and Furious except Star Trek.
Star Trek Beyond.
Yeah. And then the Vegas thing, the strip they're running around, to me, that looked straight out of Horizon Forbidden West when you go to Vegas.
Yes.
The same lights and stuff. It was just the same vibe.
Well, that's like the old school section of Vegas there.
Yeah, so that's what my brain immediately went to that. I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah. I think one of the, maybe not impressive things, but we haven't talked about Steve a lot, and Steve is played by John Cho, who is definitely the biggest actor in this film. Bigger than Sung Kang, I would say, because Sung Kang is really only known for playing Han. John Cho's been in a lot of stuff. Harold and Kumar, Star Trek. So yeah, he's got a deeper filmography, I believe. And John Cho was in Justin Lin's first movie here, which is Shopping for Fangs.
Yes.
So he was in Justin Lin's first two early films and went on to have a much larger career. So clearly Justin Lin, I mean, really catapulted John Cho's career, and they surely have a close relationship, I imagine. And it's cool that it kind of all eventually came full circle back with Star Trek Beyond later.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. So, and which is funny because obviously John Cho was cast in those movies and was playing Sulu, but Justin Lin didn't direct the first two because those were by JJ. So when he came in for the third one, it's just like, oh, John Cho's here. Hey, buddy.
Yeah. Really quick, but before we keep talking about Steve, can we just talk about how Justin Lin clearly just likes to bring back everyone that's in his... He has a very Christopher Nolan, Tarantino angle of, I'm just going to keep bringing back the same actors.
Well, I think that's a lot of directors who are quite prominent, you know? Like, I think of... like James Cameron's always like, hey, Sigourney Weaver, what are you doing?
Yes, will you come be in my movies, please? That's true. I don't know. I have to see the picture.
I mean, I feel like most directors kind of like to, once you get it down with working with certain people, it's so easy to work with them again. I would have to imagine like all directors do this. Scorsese has done this. I mean, look at how many different projects has like DiCaprio been in with Scorsese.
He's got another one coming out. Yeah, it's just, Jason Tobin is in F9. We noticed that.
Yeah,
he's not Virgil, but he is, he's in there and in Tokyo Drift. So, you know.
I thought maybe Virgil blew his brains out and then became a rocket scientist in F9 for a moment there. Because I did notice that was him.
Yeah, for a hot second. So it's kind of cool to just see that stuff. I would love to see John Cho end up in the Fast universe. I mean, come on, we have another movie to go.
We got two left
for now.
But just, I mean, well, Justin Lin's not even in the Fast universe anymore. So
Justin Lin still produced and wrote Fast 10. So
yeah, but he couldn't bother directing it because Vin Diesel drove this man insane. So so there is that.
But back to Steve.
Yeah, back to Steve. I don't know if there's anything specific you want to say about his character. I just thought it was interesting that he is the biggest name actor in this whole movie for sure. And he does pretty well in the role as well he plays it pretty straight, but he's solid in the film.
Yeah, Steve's an interesting character, I think, in the way he kind of reminds me of Derek, just not as much of a he is taking advantage of Stephanie and whoever the other girl is, but I don't know. Derek is using people to advance himself in life. And I feel like Steve is just taking advantage of people to feel good about himself and life. So they're similar but different in their goals because they're both kind of the bullies of the movie, I think, to a degree. And Steve, it's interesting, Steve's approach at the end of the movie, because he comes to the group and says, hey, let's rob my parents. Like, let's give them a wake-up call.
Can I just say one thing? I'm sorry. You never see any adults in this movie other than like a teacher or two. It's like all these, where's everybody's parents? Like any of the scenes have been at home. You don't see his parents. Steve's saying to rob his parents.
Yeah,
you don't see them.
Who's watching these kids?
Derek's house is just wide open. I think they say something about how his parents are gone. Yeah. But like they keep having these like ragers over his parents. And they're never around. Even when Virgil shoots himself, like the only other person that's there and reacting to it is Han. It's like, where's everybody's parents? Where's mom and dad at in all this? I think if there were, I'll say this, I think if there were parents in this movie, and maybe this is not what Justin Lin wanted to go for, but there are a lot of like expectations and pressures that Ben specifically puts on himself, with getting into a good college and being trying to be at the top of his class and doing all these extracurricular activities. But maybe you could see where that stems from more with his parents, like applying this sort of pressure to him. I feel like that would make his arc a little bit better, because a lot of it just seems like internalized pressure that he puts on himself, which then leads to him cracking. And I feel like if that pressure was coming from an external source, it could have made his arc a little bit more sensical, I guess. But yeah, you never see like any adults.
There's no adults.
Even when he goes to Stephanie's house, the person who answers the door is not a parent. It's like her little brother. So
yeah, it gave me Jimmy Neutron vibes. Probably just couldn't afford parents to a certain degree, But I do think there's like a line in the movie that kind of writes off, I think, the absence of adults, which is essentially grades are their alibis. And clearly somehow, with all the cocaine and illegal activity, this decathlon and all this stuff, they still are getting good grades. So I guess the parents just don't care, which is, I think, probably an intentional commentary on the pressures of good grades and college and students and stuff, and like parents being absent unless something is going wrong. But there is something going wrong. It's just under the surface or out of sight. And so it's probably intentional to some degree, besides, just keeping things as lean as possible. But so Steve and robbing his parents for a wake-up call. I feel like that is more the thing that comes out of nowhere, more than Ben, cracking at the end. Steve's just like, yeah, we're going to rob my parents. And like, I can't be this rich, spoiled kid anymore.
Yeah, he's like, it's time to put them in their place. It's like, bro, what are you talking about? Like, you're kind of, I feel like a lot of his, like, the reason he takes advantage of people, it's implied, is because he kind of comes from privilege and he seems arrogant as a result. So him wanting, I understand in turn why the group wants to kind of like dig back at him and like beat him up or whatever, which is what ends up leading to his death. But it is kind of out of nowhere to some degree. I agree.
Yeah, and they go through this whole process of like casing the house and prepping the heist and all of it. It's
and then they just beat him up,
and then they just kill him, which is, it's so tragic. And I mean, again, props to the performance of being a body choking out and struggling for life. I mean, I said it earlier, it's gruesome, it's horrific. So they all really kind of gave it their all there, which is awesome. So yeah, Steve's good. Steve's a good performance. An interesting character, if not all, doesn't necessarily make sense the entire time.
I forgot he also plays Spike Spiegel in the canceled Netflix.
Yeah.
Cowboy Bebop.
He's Spike.
He is.
He's a decent Spike.
Did you watch that?
I watched the first episode, and then I saw how that show ends. And no, how the final episode goes. Like the reveal of Ed.
Oh yeah,
Nope, I'm out. Deuces. I'll just watch regular Cowboy Bebop.
Yes.
First episode's fine though. It's decent.
The only other character we really haven't talked about would be Stephanie, and I don't know. She kind of feels like the victim in all of this on multiple accounts. Her boyfriend's cheating on her. She's it's kind of implied that she's got some sort of baggage with being adopted, and she accepts that, like, she says like, oh no, my parents are my parents, but she also kind of implies like she's curious about her original parents, her birth parents. Mm-hmm. So she's got a lot of internalized baggage, and again, it's implied that even though she doesn't know that Steve is cheating on her, their relationship still isn't great at the same time.
Yeah.
She's trying to, like the rest of them, keep her grades up and be near the top of her class. And like, there's even the one part where Ben's like, here, I did your homework for you. And she's like, no, like, what are you doing?
I like that. I did like that. I thought that said a lot about her.
I need to do this myself. So she's very hard on herself, and she's similar to Ben in that way, but she gets taken advantage of a lot.
Her boyfriend is murdered.
Yeah, her boyfriend gets murdered. The person who she thinks she can trust by the end of the movie is the one who murdered her boyfriend.
Yeah.
She gets put through the ringer, and a lot of it's stuff she doesn't know about. She doesn't know her boyfriend's been killed, at least not when the movie ends. She doesn't know Ben is the one who did it. She doesn't know Steve was cheating on her. So there's just like...
And she's objectified by Virgil quite aggressively.
Yeah, because they think she was involved in the porno or whatever, and that's like a rumor that goes around the school.
Yeah, so she kind of gets a raw deal as a character. I think her performance is solid for this character of Stephanie and the role that she plays in the narrative. You just don't feel good for her by the end of it. And I think and part of that is her performance of believing Ben and trusting him and, you know, going along with Steve and this whole formal situation, like accepting her boyfriend doesn't like to go to these things. So she'll fall in love with a different boy and do it too. So it's interesting, you know, to see, but she doesn't shine as much as the other characters.
For sure. Yes. The one other thing I would want to talk about, and we've done this throughout our whole Fast and Furious season, is we'll talk about best car. There is really only one car in this movie, and it is Han's car, which is what is the make and model again?
It is a 1965 Ford Mustang.
There you go. Back to Mustangs.
I know that because I bought it.
You bought the Hot Wheel for it?
Yeah. It's not even a Hot Wheel. It's not even a Hot Wheel. It's a Matchbox car because Hot Wheel does not have the hard top Mustang.
Mm-hmm.
I realized after watching the movie that I needed to buy another Hot Wheel for the art and was like, oh crap, what do I do? And that's what we ended up doing. There are a couple other cars. I'm trying to pull it up, but none of them shine quite like the Mustang.
I was going to say, cars are not an important factor of this film. They're not put into the spotlight, really. I mean, other than really just kind of implying that Han has a cool car. And
Han has a very cool car, and
he drives us around. And
Stephanie drives like an Audi TT Roadster, which actually was almost one of my second car was almost a TT.
But you only see that at like the very end, correct?
Steve drives a BMW, conveys wealth and things.
He's got a motorcycle as well.
Another BMW motorcycle and stuff. Yeah. So conveys wealth and things. But it's that red Mustang, which also retroactively, I didn't know Han drove American Muscle. He was when he was rolling with me.
Yeah.
Maybe he already knows Dominic Toretto in this world.
I don't know about that. The one other thing before we do Legacy, I did want to ask you one other quick question about the movie, which is how it starts and how we get full circle back to the point where they're seeing the dead body. Did you like how that was told and you're kind of shown up front that they discover this body, but it's not really known how, and you're aware that something's going to go bad? And
I was wondering how we got to a dead body. And as soon as they had that fight where Derek just pulls out a gun, I was like, this is how we get to a dead body. So it was
as soon as they started scheming with Steve, I was like, well, something's something's going to go wrong during this heist he's trying to get them to pull off here, obviously.
Yeah. I do like the misdirection of their shock at finding the body at the beginning. It's not because there's a body there. It's because the phone is ringing.
Yeah.
But we as the audience are surprised because it's a body, and we think they are too.
Well, and he says something like...
He says, like, that's the first time I saw a dead body, which isn't actually true, but I digress.
Yeah.
It's a good little misdirection there. So I like that, but it's an odd start, I think, because they spend a chunk of the movie trying to make you forget there's a dead body later on, which almost actually works. Yeah. And then what the real surprise is, Ben is the one who does the killing. So
yeah, and they flesh that out and try to show his journey to get to that point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so legacy. I think we've touched on a lot of this, and most of this will just be, restating the obvious. But this movie's legacy is Han's in this as a character for some reason. It's tangential to the Fast universe, which is kind of bizarre. So if you're looking at a full list of all the Fast movies, I think we've watched them all now between the shorts that were on the DVDs and stuff like this. I think we've seen every Fast associated product that you can watch now, except for like the video games maybe.
And the animated series, which I think has 5 seasons on Netflix. So
no, thank you.
You sure? I hear it's pretty good.
I think I'm good at this point.
Ricky says it's good.
I don't know about that. I didn't even know there was a Fast animated series really until recently. So
yeah, they're like spies.
So that's the obvious one. I mean, I don't know if we need to touch on that one too much. And then this is just one of Justin Lin's first movies, and it's probably what put him on the map and eventually got him to go do bigger and better things.
This definitely paved the way for Tokyo Drift for him. It's like you said, it's the Han origin story. I do think the tidbit that MC Hammer essentially saved this movie is interesting.
Yeah.
In a way, Fast and Furious can thank MC Hammer because, this movie was bought by MTV. It was one of MTV's first film acquisitions back in the day. So MTV buys it, they put it out, indie film, major indie vibes, and MC Hammer's responsible for it and kind of helped launch Justin's career, I should say. So that's something. And then Logan, the most important bit of legacy is 45 minutes into the movie. Ben says, and I quote,
"We had the run of the place. Rumors about us came and went fast and furious. One had us linked with some Chinese mafia. And it was fine with us because it just put more fear in everyone."
Did you notice that the moment it happened?
I paused the movie so I could write down the timestamp and get the quote exactly.
The moment it happened, I was like, they said the thing. Which is funny because I don't think they've ever said Fast and Furious in the Fast films themselves, which makes it funnier that they do say it in this movie.
Yes, it's just one of those ironic, like you couldn't have had it happen a better way if you were trying.
And obviously this movie was made before Fast and Furious was a thing too, so it's not like this was done intentionally. Like,
Fast and Furious was a thing, but
this movie premiered in 2001, right? Or was it 2002?
2002 and then 2008.
Okay, so Fast and Furious was a thing then. But obviously Justin Lin didn't know that he would eventually end up being tied into the series in a prominent manner. He wouldn't have wrote that into the script in such a way. It's just complete happenstance that occurred. But it is very funny.
And I think that does it for Better Luck Tomorrow. Thank you, members, for listening to this special bonus episode just for you. If you'd like, you can, of course, follow the show at Chapter Select and check out all our other seasons at chapterselect.com. And check into your membership at chapterselect.com/join and all that jazz. If you'd like, you can follow Logan on Twitter at moreman12 and his writing over at comicbook.com. And you can find my work over at maxfrequency.net and follow me on Twitter at maxroberts143. And until next time, better luck tomorrow. Chapter Select is a Max Frequency production. This episode was researched, produced, and edited by me, Max Roberts. Season 4 is hosted by Logan Moore and myself. Season 4 is all about the Fast and the Furious. For more on this season, go to chapterselect.com/season 4. Follow the show at Chapter Select and check out previous seasons at chapterselect.com.